Hello, and welcome to the Run Amok Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the Run Amok Podcast, home of the best Bachelorette recaps on this side of New Mexico. As always, I'm your host, David Stahl, and I'm joined alongside me by my loyal compadres, Carson Cooper and producer Gary Guys. Oh boy.
Oh, wow.
Let's get right into it. We got no time to spare.
First things first, I want to put up very quickly, we're going to pull the mop out. We're going to get the gloves on real quick. I just wanted a little bit of house cleaning, do some dusting around the podcast itself. All we're going to ask, rate, review, subscribe if you haven't already. If you have friends, this is a very communal show. I'll say that. I'm texting friends throughout. If you have friends that you're texting with, that you're having a watch party with, that you're however you're consuming the show, maybe you're watching with family. Hey, send us their way. If you think they'll enjoy it, send us their way. We're talking. If you're new to the podcast, because we're getting new people every week. Hey, pretty simple equation. Just three dudes who love Bachelor Nation and are talking rumors, are all over. I got my Matt James burner account looking for gossip and any new little tidbits. We're watching the show and we recap it every single week on this podcast. And if you're a fan of Bachelor Nation, you know, we're just getting started, baby. You know we got Paradise. Oh, yeah. You know we got Michelle's season. Then we got a Bachelor season. This is going to be back to back to back.
We are on a roll.
We are rolling. That being said, we can't look too far ahead because
no, we can't.
Holy shit. Now I said, I believe in our group chat today that I thought this was maybe, in my opinion, the greatest episode of Bachelorette television we've ever had. It was everything from the dichotomy of Blake's like beautiful, serene, just kind of like nothing one-on-one date, and then we have Justin as like a weird bridge in the middle, and then and then we get the absolute roller coaster ride.
What an implosion!
Exit. You get Katie. You got her. Sitting on the ground outside crying. Greg's brushing past her. She wants to go home. Caitlin's talking to her under the bathroom door. We're getting the paranormal activity angle where we're getting it from like the top of the hotel room downwards, and we're just seeing everything.
It's in black and white.
Holy smokes. What a ride, fellas. And we said last week at the Men Tell All, we dipped down in viewership last week. And I get why. The Men Tell All was a great
snooze fest.
It was a snooze fest. And the Bachelorette gods heard our cries and our pleas for entertainment. And they delivered.
They may have spoiled us a little too much.
They may have spoiled us.
They may have.
First things first, Coop, you made a claim last week about New Mexico. We do a rose and a thorn at the end of each episode, and yours was all of New Mexico for this whole season. I think that lives up again this season, especially with people recreating.
And I stand by it. And funny you actually bring that up is because within the very first quote unquote hometown, the very first, all of them, we got reminded yet again that New Mexico is a desert and that there's nothing there, and beautiful things go there to perish.
So that quote was pulled from one of our listeners and sent to one of their friends who lives in New Mexico. And all said, look, we may have New Mexican. Also, is that what they're called? New Mexican? I have to imagine that is what they're.
New Mexicano.
Pardon me. I take it back. Now, we may have other listeners who disagree, but that particular resident said, yes, beautiful things do go to die here. I am one of those beautiful things.
Tell me something beautiful in New Mexico, and I'll reconsider my statement. But until then,
asking for one. Give me one example.
Show me one thing.
Something not even beautiful, something meh. Something
just something
not dried up and dead.
Yeah.
That being said, okay, let's jump in. Let's just do a chronology. Let's jump in with Blake's one-on-one. Now, I think all of us could have guessed what the date was going to be before it started. Hey, we're going to do a bunch of cheese. It's a Serena P's date all over again.
It literally, the backdrop looked exactly the same as what
they used the same props.
They used the exact same stuff. Like it was to a T.
And they also went into this somewhat looking pub situation where it's like there's a bar there, and just a very stereotypical Canadian date. We got the maple syrup
and moose.
We love hockey.
Sorry,
and
when's
moose.
the last time? So people should know this is a Canadian podcast. Okay, this is going on in Canada right now. All three of us. When's the last time you had maple syrup? It's been at least months and months for me.
It's been a while. You know what I have had recently is maple butter.
Yeah.
maple butter's a good time, but I don't have fucking maple syrup in my bedside table.
That's
I
whack.
can tell you that.
That
right
That's a
now.
wild.
Yeah.
That's a man
Also-
who just is using it for I guess sex constantly, because we are
You know
just
what?
taking a little bit of a sip from the bedside table.
He's not being truthful.
No.
That's not in his bedside table. Like,
No.
come on, dude. Like, this is how Canadian I am. I have maple syrup in my bedside. No, you don't, dude. You don't ride mooses either. Like,
Yeah,
the
you
moose
don't.
thing was
That's
whatever,
true.
but being so adamant
was a
that
joke.
thing's that maple syrup's actually in the bedside table is just absurd. Like,
Yeah.
It's not true.
yeah.
He's
And then-
doing us dirty on live TV.
And
Yeah.
and then we move and see right after we see Greg overlooking his balcony like a more
sad
melancholic hunchback of Notre Dame. He's just like
Yeah.
pining over.
I
from
kind of
afar.
got some sad dictator vibes watching
his-
I like that.
watching
I
his
like
kingdom
that.
perish.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Watching his city burn around him, and he knows
Before he
that
has
his
to
time
escape.
is inevitably coming. He's about to
He's
drink
gonna have to flee.
the poison.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying he's Hitler. I don't know if. Yeah.
Well,
no.
Hitler
I'm
didn't
just.
drink a poison, so
Well, exactly. So perfect. Now moving.
there.
Move on before we get ourselves in trouble. Blake's mom, Blake's family, I really like. Blake's mom in particular, grade A chiller. I know for a fact she was the mom that let all like of Blake and his high school friends smoke weed in the backyard. And she was like,
100%.
okay, well, I'd rather you do it safely here than hurt yourselves doing it on the street. I will get. Emily Moynes is not a regular mom. She's a cool mom. I
She was a
liked
cool
his
mom.
sister. I did, legit, all jokes aside, I really liked her. I liked her as she asked great questions.
Yeah.
She obviously knows the show. You can kind of tell who knows the show based on what type of questions they're asking.
Mhm.
Yeah.
For
What
sure.
did you think of I mean, again, Blake's date was kind of just shooting 100% from the field. But I don't know if you had any thoughts on like the family dynamics or kind of what happened there.
No, I think you kind of summed it up. I really like the dynamic between him and his sister because they clearly have that kind of that really close bond where she could say like, oh, is this the one now? Like right off the hop, kind of hit him
I
with
like that, yeah.
I like that. Kind of accessing a part of him that we wouldn't be able to get to see from other contestants on the show, or like the bromance side just kind of through discussions.
Mhm.
So yeah, and I also think, like you said, mom's cool.
Well,
Mom's cool, and she was asking the great questions.
let me ask you this, because at the end of the day too, we have Blake very conflicted about whether he's going to say I love you or not to Katie, and he ultimately doesn't. She ultimately gets in the SUV. He doesn't say it. I can't remember if Justin said, but it doesn't matter. Sorry, Justin.
Justin hadn't said it.
No.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, because it seems like a recent phenomenon. We got that with Tasha, we got that with Ben, we had that with a few guys on recent seasons. I'm wondering if, and maybe people can correct me because my memory is not strong enough to go way back seasons, but I'm wondering if that's a recent phenomenon with these fake hometowns. Like it's a bit tougher for you to, because there's something so intimate about bringing someone to your real hometown, and as much maple syrup as we can take shots of at the bar, or as many darts as we can throw at white and red balloons, it's not Canada, it's not your hometown, it's not where you're emotionally tied to. So I'm wondering if there's kind of like a bit more of an intimacy block, and then guys or girls aren't like really able to express it.
Sure. I think when everything's contained in kind of that bubble, and this goes as in terms of hometowns, but also in terms of every single date is an extension of the same scenery. I'm not meaning to shame New Mexico yet again, but I mean this quite sincerely, but
Sure.
But I am. I think to an extent, it's you're kind of living in that isolation in this kind of fantasy world. And when you have real hometowns, when you actually get to go to your home and show your family to whoever it is, I think that really sparks a connection to be able to view that person in your own personal life going forward, which I think is a huge part to reaching that full kind of love phase of this show.
I agree. Yeah. And okay, we can run through Justin quick. I mean, look, hey, have we seen a better Cinderella story on this show? I'm not rooting against who the hell am I to root against this man just slowly clawing his way towards an engagement, one person taking themselves out of the show at a time. It is hey, a win's a win. A win is a win, and he is making it to final two. He starts off the date though. This one really hit me. So to me, I don't know. She says he's a great kisser. I believe she said in an interview after the show that Justin was the best kisser on the show, which, based on interactions with Blake, I don't know if I would believe that. I don't know. It seems pretty into Blake, but it just seems like her and Justin have this friendship dynamic. And it really hit me when they're in the carriage ride together. And he goes, real quick, ranch or blue cheese? And she goes, blue cheese.
His reaction to that was
Dude,
absolutely ridiculous.
It was 50-50, man.
It's 50-50. It's not like you asked her what is
Get over between 1 and 100.
Yeah, or like, do you like how do you want to be buried when you die? It's like, I want to have a tree, but me too. Like, it's not. There's two options. What are you talking about? And yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was hilarious.
I think it just goes to show you how far behind he is, because like that's he's just grasping.
He's clinging on. Like, we got the blue cheese thing. She's ready. She's ready for an engagement. Yeah, again, sorry, Baltimore. We're just kind of ripping on different cities. You're not interesting enough to be recreated in another city.
In a worse place.
If New York couldn't pull it off,
yeah,
you didn't stand a chance.
The graffiti wall ain't gonna do it for me.
Every city has a goddamn graffiti alley. I don't know how you tell you this. Like Toronto, I went to their graffiti alley. Guess what it looks like? It's cool, but it's a bunch of graffiti on a brick wall. I don't know if that's
like if there were a bunch of graffiti alleys lined up, could you distinguish the Toronto one from the Baltimore one or from the New York one, David?
If it didn't happen to say like
if it didn't happen to say the name of the city,
then of course not. No, of course not. It's the same. It's the same thing. It's the same goddamn thing. Yeah. But he's trying his best, and he was trying his best. Holy shit, he really beat around the bush in terms of acting like his parents just weren't able to come because of like a scheduling conflict or because of COVID.
Honestly, I felt so bad for the guy when he was on that initial phone call, like, which I was thinking, like, just right now, what kind of makes me think, like, there's no way he thought he was going to get this far. I mean, I don't think bringing his parents onto the show was ever a consideration for him.
That's so true. I didn't even think of that.
Like, to the point where he never even had to run it by.
I think
by them.
No, I don't think he ran it by them once. But it is, like you said, though, it is actually like, it is tough to see in reality. Like, how do you not support your kid? But first of all, let me shout out his friends, though. Like, if either of you two were on that show, obviously you're both in happy committed relationship, but had you been on that show and you called me up and like, David, I need you down like in a week. You got to quarantine. You got to be here. Like, in a second, wouldn't even think about it. And so would you guys. And like, I was just like, those are real homies who are going to do that for you. Yeah. And they did a fine job.
They did. And it's just, I don't know, like you said, like, you're just not supporting your kid. And he said, his parents said, I just find it so difficult that you can find love so quick. And he hit him back with the classic, but you know what? You're not here. So you don't really know what this experience is like. Yeah. And it'd just be when you're surprised, I think, in yourself to make it to that point, and you think that, you know what, wow, I have a real shot at this and I really like this girl. Yeah. And for your parents to just kind of say, like, it's whatever, he's on a TV show, like, our support. I don't think they realize how much their support would go for him.
Yeah. And I was also like, at least take a hard fucking stance. Like, don't be like, we support you and trust you, but we're not coming. Like, at least be like, no, I will, like, I do not support this process whatsoever and we're not coming. I would prefer that than like this wishy-washy, like, we support you. No, you don't. No, you don't. Or you'd be there. Anyways, I don't know. I wrote down this one quote I loved. He goes, it's kind of hitting me in reality now that like I could be engaged next week. And I wrote down initially, I was like, technically, but like, come on. And then he is. It's like, this guy is skating by technicality, but dude, you're there. Just cling on and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's enough of that. Like, she didn't seem happy during Justin's date. She seemed very happy during Blake's date, in my opinion, at least. And then we get Greg's date, which was, look, I'll say this. It is very layered to work through. Hold on, everybody, because we're going to do our best. But there were so many dynamics. And a lot of people commented on our old Greg clip today. We were talking like, people were saying, this aged well, because we were skeptical. And we were talking, it's titled like Greg Grippo's Red Flags. And we were talking about sort of the emotional. And I said in I say in the clip, I don't want to use the word manipulation because that seems a bit much. Well, here we are. Yeah. And unequivocal manipulation. Whatever you think, look, we'll get into it. Personally, I don't think he's an actor. I don't think he didn't have feelings for Katie, but that was what I saw was manipulative. We saw Gaslight Greg come out to the forefront. We had the shout out to the homie Nick, snap me a shot of Greg, saying, "Oh, Gaslight Greg, we need to put that on a t-shirt and sell that." But okay, let's start with the good part of the date, because I was flip-flopping back and forth all date long, and man, it's tough. We get the rain, we get the basketball. He's talking about his dad. We also got a great quote from him at the beginning of the date being like, I wasn't supposed to see Blake and Katie's date, but well, it's like, yeah, you were. The producer probably pointed you right in that direction, like, oh, there's a wild bird right out there near the right near all those red and white balloons. You should go take a look, Greg, and I don't know, see if anything catches your eye. Yeah, you were, but I don't know. Do you guys? I kind of don't even really. It was a fine date. It's what you would have expected. I personally just would love to jump right to the family.
Yeah, I think it was just so overshadowed by what comes next. It's not even worth.
Like, I'm looking at my earlier notes. I'm like, none of this matters.
Yeah.
None of it matters.
I think the date was really solid, but you're right. It's just all shadows in comparison to what we're about to jump into, for sure. We did get a good quote from Katie though. She's like,
"Go for it."
Does it really rain in Jersey? Yeah, it does. It rains.
I loved Greg's response. I thought that was so funny. He goes,
he's like, sometimes.
I thought that was hilarious. Like, he has moments of like, I get it. I get the Greg appeal. We have friends that are huge Greg fans. I understand it. I think he's funny. I don't know. I need an update, but like, it's overshadowed by the bigger red flags. Like, yeah, that's the bad thing about, I'm not calling him a bad guy, but the worst guys are really good at looking like the good guys. Like, that's the problem. But okay, the part that hit me was Greg's mom, because it is terrifying to see the person you love most in that position, and like his family's reactions to his emotions, seeing him emotional with Katie. To me, I thought, like, okay, this is very genuine. Like, any doubts I had about Greg being here for the wrong reasons melted away when they were like, oh, wow, I've never seen this happen before. Like, if he was acting there and lying to his family, well, then someone give him an EGOT. Someone give him the Oscar already, because he earned, and then send him straight to prison because he's a sociopath. I don't know. What are your thoughts on like his family's reaction to seeing him happy? To me, that proved he was genuine.
For sure. And even what I thought, like we talked about how the date itself before the family part was solid, and I thought it was, the one-on-ones between like his mom and Katie were so genuine too, and we don't find out till later that like when Katie kind of shares what they were talking about with Greg, that kind of falls flat with Greg, but like they got into some heavy conversations, and Katie talked about that we share in this this loss of our father. We really bonded over that, and we've had that connection from the get-go. So I thought, I mean, up until things kind of took a turn, that this is going so perfectly, like
swimmingly.
I thought it was
she won them over, like it was a lock. Yeah.
It was also really refreshing to get a bachelor/bachelorette that didn't dodge every single question that was asked of her. Like, oh my god, even Pete and like even Tayshia to an extent, and Claire, like they were just dodging every question that was asked.
And I mean that's the game for the most part. That is the game, but she did. I mean, I thought Katie did a masterful job, and just being honest too. It's like, hey, I'm not going to make promises to you that I can't. Like, I'm not going to tell your son I love you before I'm with one guy, which I also respect the hell of that rule. I get it.
So do I.
And you don't have to compromise just because someone else wants you to. If you made it clear that you weren't going to say I love you, she came as close as she could.
Yeah.
Oh man.
At one point, we're going to get into this, but at one point when things started to go sour, she literally looks at him, and it's like it's on the tip of her tongue, like she wants to say it, and she says, "You know how I feel about you, right?" Like that is, like, Greg, you got to know what that means.
Yeah,
that is an "I love you."
Yeah,
but
she's just abiding by her rule. But he just kept.
That's not what I want to hear. It's like, well, it is what you want to hear.
It is, and okay, let's jump into that fun. And just if someone's watching, I know people do watch you, don't watch the show, so I'll give them a bit of context, I guess. But it's a wild episode to jump into. So basically, now it's just Greg and Katie talking. And he's pretty much like, you filled a hole in my heart and I'm in love with you. He expresses it again. He's talking about his dad. And look, this part broke my heart. Katie's kind of looking at him and like just a little like friendly grin and goes essentially like, thank you, or basically she may as well have said nothing. And
then she goes, he goes, what, or something like that, because she's just staring at him, and she goes, I love looking at you.
Yeah.
And then that's when he just kind of shut down.
Well, he shuts down, and I got it. It was like, you threw your heart out there,
sure,
and you didn't get anything back. I felt bad for him, then I hated him, then I related to him, then I hated him again. It was a whirlwind, but in that moment I felt his pain because he said so much. It didn't get reciprocated. But what I will say is I think that Katie's just very awkward when she gets hit with a bunch of emotion. I think she freezes, and we said this, and this is a realization I came to like kind of late last night as I was thinking about the episode, because we were talking about the men tell all last week. And I think it was more not that she was being cold, but then when Michael threw her that like, hey, I still have feelings for you, she froze. When Andrew's talking to her, she froze. When she gets this from Greg, I think it was a combination of that freezing and also in her mind being like, hey, how do I properly respond without saying I love you, without saying the one thing he wants? And it was just short circuited, or she didn't come up with the answer in time. Sure. And that's when it just goes downhill.
Well, at that point, they were both shut down. So, like, how do you even communicate? Yeah. Like, Greg shut down, she shut down. So they're just, like, saying nothings back and forth pretty much. And it goes nowhere.
Mm-hmm. When she was first discussing her rule that she set for herself, that she wouldn't tell anybody that she loved them until the very end. I think this was maybe a couple episodes ago that she started coming up with this idea. I was thinking, like, you know what? That's gonna cause for whoever it's with a very awkward confrontation or conversation, because and like we saw, he completely pours his heart out, and you just got to know that when someone pours their heart out like that, like you can't really come up with anything to say that doesn't include I love you, that's going to live up to what they want in return.
Like she's putting it in an impossible he wouldn't have accepted anything
else, right? Very so clear. I would have frozen that situation too, right? Sure. Like, I mean, probably.
Well, and so then we kind of get the 180 degree turn, which was very wild. Like, we got Greg shutting down, but then it went so much farther. It felt to me, I'm using harsh words. It felt to me like he was trying to coerce her into an I love you. Mm-hmm. And I think it was also a big ego thing. I think it was such a bruised ego that he just felt he had to go. He basically, like, he would not have been happy unless she said, okay, show's
I'm breaking
over.
This rule for you. Yeah.
We're breaking the rule. Like,
shut it down.
Done, Claire Crawley style. We're leaving. I don't even need an engagement. Let's head out. I think that was the only way. And she can't, I guess she could do that. We saw it last season, but she can't really do that. I think it started fine when he, I'm back. Yeah, I'm back. Okay.
Never left.
I think the whole interaction started fine when he walked in the room after I think it was a couple days in between, it sounded like, too. It didn't sound like it was the next day, but he walks in the room to talk to her, start fine, and then once she starts defending herself, it felt like full manipulation mode. It felt like he really wanted to control that entire situation. Yeah, he was kind of baiting her.
At one point she starts explaining like where she thinks he's at, and she's like almost like hitting the nail on the head, like perfectly, and he's like, no, that's not where I'm at, you don't understand, like you don't get it. It's like, well, yeah, she does. She's literally saying what you're doing right now, like just didn't get it.
He starts like hyperventilating, like he just was going off the rails.
And I texted you last night, David, like she can't come up with, like, she even kept saying, like, I honestly don't know what to say right now, because I'm saying everything that you pretty much want me to say. So I think anyways, and you're just shutting it down. Like, what use is me saying anything at this point?
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, 100%. He went into that room being like, I'm going to be leaving this show no matter what. She never stood a chance.
And not only that, I'm going to be leaving the show, but making it seem like this was Katie's decision.
100%. And I'm putting a spotlight on myself right now. I wasn't gonna, I mean, who cares? If I was like, I won't have it. But in a high school relationship, I wanted to end it. And I didn't want to like feel like the bad guy. So I kind of did that sort of thing, which is like, obviously it's manipulative and dumb. I mean, I was like 15, 16, so I'm going to like give myself a bit more of a pass. But I was like, dude, I went in the same way being like, oh no, I wouldn't like normally want to break up, but I have to because this reason. Like, well, I'll change that. And I was like, no, it's already too late. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I was like, holy shit, Greg, you're acting like a manipulative 15-year-old. Like, it's just, it was so not up front. And then, we also get a great moment of when he's freaking out. I don't know if you guys caught this, but Greg kind of clutches his pearls talking about the potential of them making love. It's like, what? Am I just supposed to go to fancy suites and make love to you? Then we're gonna wake up, there's gonna be clothes strewn on the floor, the cameras are gonna come in, they're gonna see us eating breakfast in bed. Is that what I'm supposed to do? Just like, yeah,
dude. That's the next step, man. That's how the show goes.
You really know the show very well. Yes, you know the process. Yeah, I get like I guess that was his big breaking point. But I don't know. I do think like I did relate to Greg's situation. It's tough to at the same time know exactly where he's got. Like I haven't lost my dad, right? So it's such a slap in the face that you feel like someone's not hearing you.
I feel like he's also like, obviously it was very manipulative and it's like hard to justify what he did, but I feel like he just set expectations, and then as soon as those weren't met, he's just like, fuck it, I'm done, I'm gonna set my own expectations and I'm gonna meet him. Because fuck you, Katie. Basically, I don't know. Like,
one of the most concerning things is, and obviously a huge red flag is just how quickly it flipped for me.
I mean,
like obviously, like the manipulation itself, huge issue, right? But the fact that this is their first bump in the road ever, right?
Yeah.
And he's just done like that when you're literally on the verge, and she's essentially telling you, you know what? You've been my number one this whole time, and he's saying like, I don't want to hear I've been your number one. It's like, well, what do you want to hear? Because that's what you've been.
Even mentioned that she's like, oh, like this is our first thing, and you're just gonna leave like this, like this is our first bump in the road, you're just gonna dip. And
it's something's concerning to the point where like that's just something's not right there. If you can flip like that, and David, you and I had this conversation over text when they moved to the outside, that he walks down the stairs and she follows him, and then she's like on the floor,
she's
crying,
on her knees begging him.
Pretty much,
on the
he's sitting in a chair with just like no emotion on his face, and she's bawling. So like that makes me question, like, dude, how do you switch that quickly? Like there's something off there.
I don't want to speak for a second, but you were wrong about your emotions then. You weren't in love. Don't tell me you were in love and then you're able a day or two later, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Say he slept on it for 2 days and it was edited to make it look like the next day. I don't give a shit. If you're telling people this is the girl for you, that happens, little thing,
and there's no emotion.
Done?
Yeah.
You're just walking away? Dude,
then
spoiler alert, marriage is going to be a tough road for you then. You're going to have to go through 40 years, and you're not going to be able to deal with that bump in the road. Then good luck, my man. And also, just like you're saying, Coop, like that was such a sad image. You can't tell me that you were ever in love with someone. I could see someone who I dated like 2 years ago. If we had one conversation and they were bawling on their knees on the concrete, I'm not, unless it's like an insane situation, I'm not brushing by them like, okay,
David, there could be a stranger on the road, on their hands and knees crying, and I don't think you'd brush by him.
No, I couldn't believe it when it was so cold. He didn't even think about comforting her in that situation. No. The only thing on his mind is, how do I get off this show in the quickest way possible? And you know what? Like now that I'm talking, like we have tried to relate to Greg this episode and be like, look, I know it's like, I almost can't, I don't understand that pain. And it was not the reaction you were looking for, but fuck that, man. You cannot react that way and try to really put all the blame on someone. That is gaslighting.
And like, yeah, exactly. Like you said, he had no attempt to comfort her. The funny thing was that she felt that she had to comfort him. She comes down the stairs and goes, I just want to like give you a hug right now. Like that is like grade A manipulation and gaslighting to the extent where it's so flipped that she feels that she's on the hook for the way he's acting.
And we should mention today, Katie shared on her story, like, let's talk about gaslighting. It was this infographic from, did you see that, Gary? It was like, let's talk about gaslighting. And it was an infographic. And this is the thing, and this is a little tidbit. I haven't seen anyone else mention this, but it was from April. So I wondered if she had like saved it, because that's a weird thing to like have on deck. I wondered if she was like, I'm posting this when this shit comes out, because she like knew from that long ago, because she's been liking comments for a while that are saying like Greg's a great actor, like Greg's manipulative, and then she'll unlike it. But I've seen those screenshots like, hey, we're talking about, we like rumors and gossip on this show. I've got fucking burner account eyes everywhere. I am not missing these likes. And so I think that like this has been festering in her for a long time. It was devastating to see that moment on the ground, Coop. I know that hit both of us right in the face. Now that last 15 minutes of the show, all we're seeing is that hotel room door. All we're seeing is that paranormal activity angle. And I was locked in. I wasn't looking at anything, and I couldn't turn away. Oh, dude, my God.
I'm saying whoever directed that end sequence
gets an Emmy,
gets an Oscar, dude.
Let me ask you this though. And look, I like what they've done. I like the hosting, and maybe this is wrong. Maybe Katie Thurston will comment and be like, you guys don't know what you're talking about, but I'm speaking this right from my heart. I don't think Katie trusts Caitlin. I think she thinks, hey, she's like, that did not sound like someone who was talking to their girlfriend. That sounded like someone who thought, I know that you're getting paid to get the best entertainment possible. And look, sure, I bet Caitlin would disagree. She sounds great. I don't know. I'm not blaming her. I would probably get caught up in this situation too, but you could see her turning around behind her, looking definitely at a producer who's motioning, like, keep it going. Her questions were not friend-based. They were very much plot-driven of like, what do you want to do next? Do you regret this? And that's fine. But to me, I just want to establish that was not a girlfriend coming to her door. Let's not frame it that way, because I've seen other podcasts. We love Chicks in the Office.
Don't frame it in that sense when it's clearly adding a bit of fire to the gas to the fire.
Chicks in the Office, we love them, but they're a friend of Caitlin Bristow, and they were being like, oh, she did a great job. No, she didn't. She was a producer. That's fine, but that's what she was.
Her hotel room door was knocked on. We said, we need you over here now, and she was shooed to the door.
Yeah,
she was.
Get over there.
And she did her job.
Sure,
but
her job.
And then I also loved, like, during that madness while all that shit's going down, Justin's like 8 floors over, just watching TV on it, just laying back, like, oh, that was a pretty good date. I went out well. Oh man, I had a good run. He's like getting ready to
He's hanging out with his buddies.
Yeah, his buddies are still there. Yeah, they're
fucking Katie's on a plane going home, and he's just chilling.
He has no idea. Playing spades in his room still. Yeah. So I don't know. Did you? I because there is stuff to talk about moving forward. I have a few notes of looking ahead towards the finale. Do you guys have any more notes about Greg? Because again, very bogged down. To summarize it, I think we're saying like, hey, he was there for the right reasons, in my opinion, at least. Like, he was there to fall in love, I think. But I think either his ego or maybe it caught up with it. It may have also just been a realization of like, holy shit, this is a reality show. Like, he just realized it all at once, because I do get when he was like, I don't care about the rose. I don't care about being number one. And then she like kept talking in that lingo, but it was just a mistake on her part. But I think maybe he even freaked out. It was like, oh my God, this is such a production. But again, it doesn't matter. You were manipulative, and you were like, kind of, dude, I don't want to be too strong, emotionally abusive at certain point. Like, it was just like too much, and not enough empathy for someone you supposedly love. Is it? I don't know. Are we on board with that summary? Yeah.
Okay. Absolutely.
All right, let's look ahead, because I'm wondering, like, look, we've said before, we need a little ticker at the bottom saying who banged in the fantasy suites. That's, come on.
We
need it.
We need some kind of confirmation.
I don't think any fantasy suites are happening. I don't know how it would be possible. Either. It's impossible. We're getting no smush in this season. Are you kidding me? I don't know.
So maybe it's not the perfect season after all. Right? I mean,
wow. Does it kind of put an asterisk on a perfect season?
I don't think it does. Honestly, I think
you could end it right now. They could not release anything else. They could leave us hanging, and it would still be
What a fantastic season.
Yeah, I think that actually the lack of fantasy suites helps prove its case of how crazy of a season it's been.
It's just nuts. Dude, I've never been less sure going into finale. I'll say it to my grave. There has been like a clear final 2 sometimes. There's been a clear final 1. That's boring. Dude, we've had every scenario. Like I've simply never been less sure going into finale.
We thought for a while that Blake was like he's guaranteed, and then we were like, oh, Greg's gonna be it. I mean, we never thought Justin had a chance, but
no, we didn't.
Justin, the Cinderella story from out of nowhere.
You know what's interesting going forward too is we heard a brief clip of Blake saying, you know, if she's still hung up on Greg, like what's the point of me even being here?
Yeah.
And like let's be real, Blake is probably the front runner out of the two of them.
Does Justin win by default? Imagine, like, you can't be like, oh shit, I never thought you'd make it this far. Like I just kept putting you through because I needed numbers. It was a 2-man race.
Well, I just mean it
could come to that.
Yeah, it could come to that.
I know what you mean.
Just result in Katie just ending it. Like,
I could definitely say that. I was gonna say, does Katie leave? I think
she does.
I mean,
she has to.
I think she does too.
Yeah.
I think she has to. There's no way you could end with another guy. You were just basically saying that Greg was the one. You basically.
And she said when Michael A went home, she's like, "Oh, I just sent home my guy," which I can understand. Like she wasn't. There was still a bunch of guys there, so she could have been at like that level with a bunch of different people.
Yeah.
But she's not at the level with fucking Blake and Justin that she was at with Greg. Like there's no chance she's even close.
Sure. I think when Blake catches wind of how strongly she felt with Greg and how upset she is that he's no longer there.
Yeah.
I think he's probably going to pack it in, which, sorry, Justin, will unfortunately result in the whole thing.
That you also have to pack it in, even if you don't want
you've been told to pack it in. Yeah.
Poor Justin, man. Like, he is in the position that you dream of, and yet we know from our perspective, like, he used to say his room being optimistic. We know that there is a 0% chance of him having sex or him winning the show. And yet he's top 2. That's never happened before. You've never been top 2 and been locked out of even a fantasy suite or Nick Vial from the Vial Files. He said that Katie kept Justin around just for the fantasy suites. Which
interesting.
I'm gonna be honest. I think he's less. He's a good-looking guy. I don't get it as much as everyone else. He's good-looking. People are going crazy over him on Twitter. I don't get it. And
but like if you're keeping somebody around for fantasy suites, like I don't know, maybe you'd keep around like Andrew or something like that, or something.
Yeah, I'm the first guy to call a guy handsome. I'm not.
Absolutely. Yeah,
the guy's handsome, but I mean, he's no James. Now, maybe I'm off on James. Maybe my dude radar is off on James. People don't love him.
I think it is.
Yeah, people don't love him the same
dude.
way.
Yeah, you somehow like. I don't know if you picture him with a different set of hair, like head of hair, or
well, it's the
what.
Potential, man. He's got hair. It's just what he's doing.
Yeah,
with
but
it.
like we've even seen Paradise clips, and that thing's still glued to his head, Pee Wee Herman style. Like I don't know.
It might be painted on. It might be. There's a Calvin and Hobbes comic where he shaves his head and they put it on with highlighter. That might be what James did. Like he went too far with a haircut beforehand, so he just went Sharpie right on there. But okay, let's. Dude, what I will say is because we were disappointed with Men Tell All, right? And last year's After the Final Rose was very heavy, and it wasn't like the fun drama. We thought, oh baby, this year's is gonna be fiery. Oh shit,
crazy. Yeah.
My only fear, I better not see a goddamn scripted Zoom call like we got with Thomas. If I see Greg dialing up on a Zoom call, I'm going to fly to his house and drag him and Katie to a mutual location
and watch
and have one myself. I will dictate
there's a chance
it.
We don't see Greg at all. Like he just doesn't come back.
I do. I think
that's pretty strong possibility.
I think contractually he would have to, man.
I saw in a press release that he is there. Okay. That the final 3 guys are all there.
So. And that's the thing. You should look. I'm all about we should be able to empower these contestants a bit more. But you're on the show. You got to come to After the Final Rose, especially after something like that. Yeah, it's uncomfortable. Yeah. That's the fucking point. You got to show up. That's what we want. That's the only time we want you. If it's a happy breakup, I don't really care what Andrew and Katie have to say to one another if they're not together. This is what I'm living for. So sure. I can't wait. Now, without further ado, guys, if you're ready, let's jump into our rose and our thorn again. Shout out to Chicks in the Office. We stole a segment from them, but not really. It's just our highlight and low light of the week. Rose is what we love, what we're keeping, what we're giving out to each other in a little bouquet. But don't want to prick yourself. We're going to chop off one of those thorns. That's the low light. That's what we're getting rid of. So again, because it was such an amazing episode, let's start with the negative and end on a positive, because that is what this episode and this season deserves. We'll start with producer Gary. What you got for a thorn this week?
This week I'm going to have to give it to the hosts of the show, because we just straight up didn't see it. We saw Caitlin for 5 minutes, maybe. And it wasn't even like,
oh man,
it was just like a producer thing. Like, hey, we need you to like talk to Katie. Like, they weren't there to help her. They weren't there to like, I don't know.
Fantastic.
Make the situation better. I don't know. They could have stepped in at least a little bit more.
We didn't see Tayshia at all. And,
even
and
at
that's
the
a great
hometowns,
pick.
like just show up and talk to Katie about how it went or something. I don't know.
Like afterwards, and I didn't write it down, but I'll say it now. I mean, it's not a controversial thing. Look, it's good that I think it's right that he's off the show. I think his time is done. Let's move on. We're moving in a good direction. But this was the first time since he was gone that I thought this would have been a good time for Chris Harrison. I would have loved to see
to do it, but we just need this host to be host.
Oh, but Chris would have done, like, Chris is the master of acting like he's making a situation better, but really just getting inside Greg's head. Like, he would have built him up, wound him up. He would have wound up. Like, there would have been a couple haymakers thrown between Katie and producers. Like, Greg would have flipped a table. It's just great one. All right, Coop, what you got?
For my thorn, I'm going with Justin's parents not coming. Not that I'm sorry, Justin. That it would have really made a difference, but I think it would have made a difference in your self confidence and your time there. Like
moving forward.
Moving forward. But I just I feel bad.
Sure.
Like he was clearly expressing to them how he felt about her, and just to kind of get shut down like that. Yeah. And even there was a quick quote from Katie in the confessional where she said something to the effect that, you know what, it's kind of gonna be hard to picture my life with Justin going forward if I can't even meet his parents. Yeah. And like, obviously that shouldn't be a reflection on him by any means. Yeah. No. But it's just unfortunate that's perceived that way, or can be.
Yeah. That's a great one. That's a spectacular one. I didn't have either of those down. I do have, I've three. Do you mind if I jump into them real quick? They're all quick. I got to give look, we've said it, but Greg's behavior. It's going to Greg's general behavior because we get his point of view. But the three that really bugged me were Katie being left on the ground. Hated that image. The way he talked to her in her room, and then him just getting up in the room and leaving and not even like those were like, oh my God, red flag. Like, we may as well be at goddamn Six Flags because there were red flags popping up in every direction. My second one, what the hell was that in memoriam Greg montage at the end? How have we not talked about this?
I can't believe we didn't bring that up.
I was waiting on did I miss? Did Greg get hit by a bus yesterday?
I thought he died on the way back to the hotel room or something.
I don't need in memoriam. Why do I give a shit about this? I just saw it blow up catastrophically. I'm not rooting for them anymore.
Yeah.
We've never seen this before.
Give Michael one before Greg.
Exactly. What? Give Andrew one before Greg. Insane. We've never seen it before. And it literally said in memoriam. It was the most absurd thing I've ever seen. They had the little music behind it. They I can't believe it's raining out again. I don't need to relive this. My heart just watched it explode.
They should have just cut to Blake and Justin hanging out with like Justin's friends just in a hotel room. So like that's what they should have done.
Four of them.
Yeah. They're just hanging out.
Just having a good time.
They're playing president. Yeah, they're just chilling. All right, and then my last one is just no fancy suites. It didn't happen this week. I guess maybe that'd be one for next week, but I love a good smush, and we're not getting any. We can lock that in. That sucks. All right, Gary, hit me with your rose. What'd you love this episode? I'm
gonna have to give a shout out to the producers because I don't think I've shouted them out one time this season. So
you did. You give them another rose, but well worth it.
Yeah, good direction, good camera work. They're killing it. Good audio on Katie through the bathroom door. Like,
fantastic.
Shout out to that. But also, I want to shout out. I want to give one to Katie as well, just because I thought she was so well spoken. Even during the Greg fiasco, she was really speaking her mind, and like really putting the words like in. Like, she was saying everything, and she was saying like she meant it all. Unfortunately, she got her words twisted by Greg a little bit, and she didn't dodge a single question all episode, which is hard to do when you're getting these fucking like weird, like open-ended question from the parents. So
sure,
good on her.
That was great.
Yeah,
both great roses. Carson, what you got?
My rose is it's gonna have to go to the turn in public perception of Greg, and like you, David, I know
gotcha. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I know work that one through my new.
The overall shift in perception of Greg.
The public perception of Greg. Yes, you're giving a rose to it. Yeah.
Like you, a lot of people, I think, were really in on Greg quite early, whereas I think I speak for the three of us, were quite early on in this show. We were a little skeptical. We thought, skeptical. I don't know about Greg, and then he won a lot of people. No, but he won a lot of people over with his one-on-one. That he just didn't really do it for me for some reason. And I'd like to welcome everybody over to this side of
hey, you're never too late.
Yeah, we welcome you with open arms.
Yeah.
So that's my rose, that people are kind of getting that realization that something was a little fishy. And you know what? Yeah. These three were on the case early.
We were.
Absolutely.
Our biggest video.
So you know what? In many ways, Greg's the rose goes to us three. So there you go. We get the rose this week.
Let's go.
All right. I'll give a couple to do with Justin. Justin's Cinderella story. First of all, I don't know if we've ever seen a weirder number 2 on this show. This is probably the weirdest number 2 contestant we've ever seen. But shout out to him, just clinging on. Again, a win's a win. Also shout out to his friends for coming down, true homies. I don't remember the other guy's name, but I know one of them was named Herb. Yeah, Herb. Awesome. Fantastic name. You don't meet enough Herbs anymore.
Not anymore.
My other one was just, this is a little bit of a cheat, but just the collective episode. The whole thing's getting a rose from me. Honestly, it was just start to finish a spectacular wild ride, and it set us up for a beautiful, beautiful finale.
Yeah.
Yeah. I cannot wait. So we're all saying Katie leaves. She's single right now. Is that what you think? Is that what we all think?
I hope she's with Andrew S, because like that would be just a dream come true.
I don't think based off what we saw at Mental All, I don't think they're together. Unless they're maybe they got to get some EGOTs too. Like maybe
they're great actors. You never know.
But I don't think so. I think she's single, and but I'm very excited to see how it plays out. We're rooting for my guy Blake. Carson, I guess you have Justin in the mix still. You're still clinging on to that bet. I think we're both. It's
unfortunate I even had Greg.
I think no one is winning this season.
We need to make a Bachelorette betting site, because like the odds on Justin winning right now would be nutty, and if he pulls through,
you'd strike it rich.
Make some big money.
I think you're losing. I think you're losing your money there.
But if he wins,
all power to you. All power to you. That's a value bet. All right, guys, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for tuning in again. A wild episode, a lot to work through. I don't know. Tell us your thoughts, because I'm sure everyone's got, no matter whether you're a Greg fan or a Greg hater, everyone's got to have opinions on this week, and buckle up for next week. You're going to need a roller coaster grade seatbelt for next week. You're going to want that thing going over like that and strapping you in, because
that's a little too tight.
Little too tight.
Always a little. They're always a little.
Thank goodness. Yeah, really pinch my chest, because I don't know what direction we're going. All right, producer, remember,
the rapper never flies at night.
Thank you. Peace.